Okay, I've been studying the book Experiencing God. This looks like it's backwards. I'm not sure if it is or not. By Henry Blackaby and Mike Blackaby. It's a wonderful book. You will experience God. You will mark up your book a lot. You really don't need videos, even though this is supposed to come with, video notes and video teaching and that kind of thing. But we're just doing it with our church. Most of the homework is done at home, and then we get together and go over the answers at church. But I definitely have to read Hebrews 11, which is where it describes it's called the roll call of faith. So these are the people that are 6,000-7,000 years behind us, and then looking all the way into 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 years ahead, and how the people of old have waited even for us to come down in this generation to be able to finish the work that they started. And until we've done our part, they can't gain their gifts that God has for them. Sounds really crazy, but when you read it in the Spirit of the Holy Spirit, take it in and listen. Hebrews 11, what is faith? It is the confident assurance that what we hope for is going to happen. It is the evidence of things that we cannot see. God gave his approval to people in the days of old because of their faith. So what is required first and foremost? Faith. By faith, we understand that the entire universe was formed at God's command, and that what we now see did not come from anything that can be seen. It was by faith that Abel brought a more acceptable offering to God than Cain did. God accepted Abel's offering to show that he was a righteous man. And although Abel is long ago dead, he still speaks to us because of his faith. So everything that we do here on this earth will speak for eternity. Abel still talks. Noah still talks. Abraham still talks. And so will our voices still talk, even into and in through eternity. And although Abel is long dead, he still speaks to us because of his faith. It was by faith that Enoch was taken up to heaven without dying. He suddenly disappeared because God took him. And that is a form of the rapture. Not the rapture at the end of days, the rapture of the church, but a form of a rapture where you're here one minute and you're gone the next. But before he was taken up, he was approved as pleasing to God. So you see, it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that there is a God and that God rewards those who sincerely seek him. It was by faith that Noah built an ark to save his family from the flood. He obeyed God, who warned him about something that had never happened before. There was never rain on the earth, not rain that came from the sky. There was water, but there wasn't rain. He obeyed God, who warned him about something that had never happened before. I repeat that. By his faith, Noah, he condemned the rest of the world, and he was made right in God's sight. It was by faith that Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave home and to go to another land that God would give him as his inheritance. How many of us are afraid to just get up and move? If God tells us to move to a different city, a different home, a different place. Abraham went without knowing where he was going. And even when he reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith. For he was like a foreigner living in a tent. And so did Isaac and Jacob, to whom God gave the same promise. Abraham did this because he was confidently looking forward to a city with eternal foundations, a city designed and built by God. It was by faith that Sarah, together with Abraham, was able to have a child. Even though they were too old and Sarah was barren, Abraham believed that God would keep his promise. And so a whole nation came from this one man, Abraham, who was too old to have any children. A nation was and that is by the scientific reasons. He was too old, but not by supernatural reasons. A nation with so many people that, like the stars of the sky and the sand of the seashore, there's no way to count them. Excuse you. Oh. You okay? When's Jesus coming back? Huh? Oh, he winked. Good. All right. He knows I don't. Okay, I'm on verse 13. All these faithful ones died without receiving what God had promised them, but they saw it all from a distance, and they welcomed the promises of God. They agreed that they were no more than foreigners and nomads here on the earth. Do you feel like a nomad and a foreigner here on the earth? I do. And obviously people who talk like that are looking forward to a country they can call their own. If they had meant the country they came from, they would have found a way to get back. But they were looking for a better place, a heavenly homeland. That is why God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a heavenly city for them. Okay, don't forget, God is making mansions for each of his children to dwell. Okay, he says, where I'm going, I go to prepare a place for you so that when I return, I can take you back to myself and take you to your mansion. That's pretty cool. It was by faith that Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice when God was testing him. Abraham, who had received God's promises, was ready to sacrifice his only son Isaac, though God had promised him, Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted. Abraham assumed that if Isaac died, God was able to bring him back to life again. And in a sense, Abraham did receive his son back from the dead. Because remember, Abraham was just about to chop off Isaac's head when the angel stopped him and said, that's all we wanted to know. Are you faithful? And then he was able to keep his child. It was by faith that Isaac blessed his two sons, Jacob and Esau. He had confidence in what God was going to do in the future. It was by faith that Jacob, when he was old and dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons and bowed in worship as he leaned on his staff. And it was by faith that Joseph, when he was about to die, confidently spoke of God's bringing the people of Israel out of Egypt. He was so sure of it that he commanded them to carry his bones with them when they left. All right, I'm going to stop at Hebrews 11:23, and then I want to scoot down to 11:32, so I'll be right back.